Can we actually... I guess we can open up a new... Okay, apparently I think I got the date wrong. Maybe the wrong date was yesterday as well. Just see if I... Oh, that didn't want to open up in... well, the internet has become so depraved these days, so things are not working as it should, right? So anyway, I just wanted to talk about a little about the festivals. You know, I'm getting so, what do you call it? Some sense frustrated, right? You know, but it is very nice to see that others are actually getting it. Okay, we have the thing here. We'll just line 20 minutter. Oops. Okay, let's see if we can post that. Great. I don't know if anyone will come live, but we'll keep it in English. There we go. I'm just making some coffee, so I can see some of other people actually understanding that these festivals are pagan, which is so nice to see other people actually reacting to it. Now, just in regards of experience, let's see if we can actually... But just in regards of experience, you can use a lot of time on the pagan bullshit, right? But at some point you figure out that, you know, you can use so much time and you can go on and on and on with all these pagan things, and there's so many links on these pagan festivals and traditions and all that nonsense and all that. But the thing is, you can use so much time on that, right? And it's great to figure out, hey, it's actually pagan, right? Because when you know it's pagan, then the bullshitters, like the Lutherans, and of course in Danish you can actually use like a word for them, but these so-called real Lutherans, and you know, they because the Lutherans was not just the Lutherans, you know, because many Lutherans in the Nordic nations and other places, they understood that the cookie was not, it was not Jesus, it was symbolic. So these so-called real Lutherans, whatever you want to call them, you know, they had issues with these other people and these other, well, other people that actually proclaimed themselves Lutherans, you know, were not apparently real Lutherans, right? They were just fake Lutherans apparently. And they are called like crypto-Calvinist and crypto like Swinklinist or whatever, you know, different words, which just means like a hidden Calvinist or hidden Swinklinist. It's just in regards of not accepting the cookie Jesus of the Antichrist. And I mean, so, but we have all these pagan festivals like Christ Mass. And you know, you see on this page, this Christian page, well, it's called Christian at least. There's a lot of pagans and non-believers and, you know, whatever nonsense on it, you know. But there's some good stuff as well, and you know, I really didn't want to ban, you know, or block people, but it actually does help a lot because, you know, you use so much time on people and like these Lutherans that are promoting falsehood in regards to the cookie Jesus, and you know, one of them were promoting a rosary, but it's not really a rosary, it's the Lutheran rosary. Oh, give me a break. Just give me it's a, you know, oh my, you gotta be kidding me. Rosaries, you find rosaries all the pagan places, you know, in Buddhism, Hinduism, New Age nonsense, Mohammedanism, Roman Catholicism, and hey, and the Lutherans. Yeah, the only thing I would do with a thing like that was throw it out. You know, you gotta be kidding me. Oh, but it's a Lutheran version. Oh, really? Yeah. Anyway, all these pagan traditions, you know, and they're promoting these and they're trying to defend these traditions. And it's wonderful. Well, it's not wonderful that they're doing it, right? But it's wonderful that people are actually looking into things, right? Because it's so clear stinking false, It's so clear stinking false. If anyone just, want the truth, they can go out. Oh, but there are all these videos and all that, and there's no truth to those, apparently, right? Hours and hours and hours from so many different people out there. Oh, you mean the people that actually investigated things and looked up lexicons and read the Bible and all that? Oh, it's just hogwash. Oh, really? Those videos that they made are just not worth anything. Like all the historical sources and all that. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They're just liars, apparently, right? But the thing is, the deception and the lies on this are so easy to spot. So people who goes into this and they look, well, this guy says this, right? This guy says this. Well, let's investigate it, right? And anyone that is led by the Spirit of truth should be able to see who is lying and who is actually promoting truth. And it's disgusting to know that we have had a system that has been defending these wicked bullshit traditions so long. It's disgusting. We have had a Bible for 500 years that we could read on our own tongue. Well, nearly 500 years. Well, we had the first New Testament in 1542, I think. The Roman Catholics apparently had not given the Danes a New Testament to read in their own tongue. It took a former king, a former Danish king that wasn't so popular and was thrown out of the nation to actually do it. And it seems like it was actually Luther that ended up being the promoter that the king actually did it. So I'm not, when I'm talking about Lutherans and all that, I'm not against all the good things that Luther did, I'm against all the bad things he did, He did some good things, but he also did some bad things. And the problem is, if we don't continue to throw out the leaven, well, we'll then stick to the leaven. And Martin Luther had this very sadly issue of, clinging to the cookie Jesus nonsense. Yeah, it's, he grew up as a Catholic, a Roman papist, right? And it's not always that easy to throw off the leaven. He actually ends up breaking, pushing the brake for the Reformation. It's very sad. We have Andreas Karlstadt that ends up being kicked out by Luther of Wittenberg and all that, and he was seen as a radical and this and that. And you had all these other Protestants that went further and understood that this is, it's symbolic. It's to remember what Jesus did for us once and for all. We break the bread, the daily bread, and we drink the daily wine. To remember what Christ did once and for all. In regards to eating the lamb, the Passover lamb once a year. Oh, you going into being a Judaizer. Just give me a break. And Jesus was a Jew, wasn't he? And he ate the Passover lamb. Oh, that's one of the fake versions as well, right, of Jesus. Oh, but Jesus was a vegetarian. Oh, what a garbage, But that's one of many, many, many fake versions of Jesus, he had to eat the Passover lamb once a year, because if he didn't, he would be breaking the law, right? And that's kind of a commandment found in the law. So if he wasn't eating the lamb, and then he wouldn't be a sinless lamb, right? Because he should, he kept the law, right, to perfection, right? That's why he's the perfect, spotless, sinless lamb, right? Yeah. Anyway. So, or goat, you can eat a goat as well. Both a lamb and a goat is accepted. 1 year old goat or lamb, or maybe I haven't really figured out in regards of, I guess it must not be more than a year, I'm not entirely sure. But usually a lamb, right, when it's just coming out, that's the way that people usually do it, right? And, but in any case, we have, a Passover, and then we're not saying that we're perfect, right? We haven't grown up in these festivals, but we should really, as Christians, we should have been taught these things by our parents. What did our parents teach us? Lies and deceptions, Christ Mass and Satan Claus, and Easter rabbits or egg-laying hares or whatever, and tooth fairy and gnomes and all that bullshit, all that satanic bullshit. They taught us these things. What does God say? Well, he says, we should be instructed. We should instruct our children in the truth. And if we just grew up with the truth, it would have been so much easier, right? Anyway, we have a Danish book here. This is an older book from 1736. Now, this guy started out writing this book in Danish, right? But then he became afraid that the Danish people might misuse the information because, oh boy, So, I don't know if I should use that expression, actually. Anyways, so he write this, right? Hey, I'm not perfect, okay? I'm trying the best that I can to try to help you guys and try to tell you the truth, okay? And there's a lot of liars and deceivers out there, and I hate it. I just hate this, I went into the New Age. The New Age bullshit where Satan led me astray on the broad way that leads to destruction. I'm sick and tired of the lies, and you become a Christian, right? Oh, there's this other guy in the group. Oh, you shouldn't use... Oh, give me a break, in regards of... I'm just, all these naughty things, and it just keeps on going. Anyway, when I became a Christian, shouldn't you say that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, when I became a believer in Christ and thereby became a Christian and began to turn around, okay, I found out that there was a lot of deceptions in Christianity. Actually, it seems like there was more deception in Christianity under the Christian label that there is in the New Age, So, and I don't want to be pulled into bullshit again, I'm sick and tired of it. One of the, all this bullshit have, all these infirmities or whatever it's called, inflictions that you get, right? It's because of all the bullshit that is in the world. We get inflicted by all these satanic practices that they do against us because we don't stand in truth, and they just, kill us off, and this medical system, right, of Latin, Greek bullshit and all that, and it's just like not being able to read the Bible because it's in Latin, right? They use all the big bullshit words and all that. Anyway, all roads leads to Rome. Anyway, so this guy, Eric Pontoppidan, which was around when they began to... That was before, just a little before 2 generations, or 2 generations before the Freemasons in regards to Frederick V, when Roman papism came into the disguise, Satanism, came into the disguise in Denmark in regards of Freemasonry. That's Roman Catholicism for so-called Protestants, yeah. Oh, they say, we're Christians, Of course, there's different variations of Freemasonry, but, mostly it's in regards of so-called Christians, right? In regards of these groups that is in Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Iceland, I think is the last one that runs in this system. The Nordic system, although we also have, the Sheep Islands, they have some of the other Satanist groups called something else. But anyway, so any case, this book is a Danish book. It was the Eric Pontoppidan began to write this in Danish, and yet ended up in Latin. And there's a satanic gnome on the front page. I was nearly throwing it out. I was like, what's that gnome doing on the, what's that satanic gnome doing on my front page, right? I was, the front page. I hate these things, I don't want, these filthy, disgusting. Anyway, it's still there, but I don't, you make some cleaning when you get out of the New Age, right? All the New Age bullshit and satanic filth and all that. You begin to throw that out on books and all that. Anyway, So the guy wrote it in Latin because he didn't want people to misuse the information, which I think is a failure. Because, it's only the learned people, right, that needs to know the truth, apparently, about these things. But the problem is, if it's only for the learned, and the learned doesn't tell the people about it, that they're keeping pagan traditions, then, of course, the people are not going to do anything about it, right? And if these learned people are actually promoting satanic nonsense, then, again, nothing is going to happen. And these learned people in... getting money for deceiving and lying that is out in the, church buildings, I guess we call them, the meeting houses, right? And they're promoting all that. They don't want the truth. They don't want someone like me coming around and telling them the truth, get out, And they should get out. They shouldn't even be in there, right? And these Freemasons, every 13 priest is a Freemason, right? What should we do about that? Well, kick them out. Get them out, Are we Christians not allowed to pinpoint, someone really, that really actually stands in the Word of God, if anything, Why should they pinpoint what bullshitters they want us to have to, just get the liars and the deceivers and give them a bag of money. And, there's a lot of evil people in the world. We have to understand that there's a lot of evil people. And just because we couldn't we couldn't imagine doing something, right? There's a lot of people out there that do not care about, okay, they will do anything, they will do the most depraved thing. And no one could do that, right? Yeah, they could. And they do. There's a lot of devil children out there, okay? Anyway, so he wrote this book, and this is like 2 books in one, because this guy in 1923, and this is not a Christian organization, this is in regards of Danish folklore or something of that kind in English, I guess. And they found apparently it was interesting, right? So they translated into Danish, and then he also himself put 32 pages, which he knows a lot as well, and he puts it in that. Now, he's not a Christian as far as I can gather, and they don't look at it from a Christian perspective, but they do give you a lot of information, in regards to all the pagan bullshit. They rather seem to look, just positively on the old Danish folklore with all the pagan bullshit, and he's connecting all these. So it's like 2 books in one. You can get it at an antique store. I can't remember how much yeah, maybe you can also borrow it in the library, who knows. But this is just another source on pagan traditions. The thing is, I found out when I did a lot of research on these pagan traditions and all that, I got fed up. At some point, you get fed up. You understand, okay, these things are pagan, these are satanic, there's an overflow and information and all that, and I can go down this route for the rest of my life, right? But then again, what can we do? Well, actually, we don't need to know all this pagan bullshit, do we? What do we really need to know? What festivals is found in the Bible, right? That's the important thing. That's the thing we need to get back to. If we get back to the festivals of the Bible and are instructed by them, keeping them and so forward, and teaching our children, what is the devil going to do? He's trying to come with all his bullshit. So what? As long as we know the truth. Right? It doesn't matter how much garbage he tries to throw at us. We know the festivals of God. When we know the festivals of God, it does, the devil can't deceive us on what is, Christ Mass is what are you talking about? Find it in the Bible, right? It's not there. There's not a single festival in the winter in the Torah. Now, I'm not talking about the whole Bible, because we have Purim, but Purim was an added festival later on, like Hanukkah. And Hanukkah and Purim, I wouldn't keep myself either, because they're not found in the Torah, and you have links that doesn't seem so good, and we shouldn't add it, and we shouldn't take away. So, but in any case, those 2 are not added, and we should focus on the festivals that are found in the Torah. That's the first and foundational foundation that we should go by. The festivals found in the Bible that Yeshua kept. Now, some will say, well, Yeshua kept the Hanukkah. No, he didn't keep Hanukkah. He was just there. He actually went away at the time of Hanukkah. I think that was the time where they wanted to stone him, right? They asked him, tell us, are you the Messiah? And Jesus says, well, I've already told you and all that. And, but you're not a part of my flock or something like that. And then they want to stone him, I think. I might be wrong, but you can go look at it. It's John chapter 10 or something like that. So I'm not going, of course, I could also just look into it myself. But I think it's around chapter 10 where you have Hanukkah mentioned. You have to remember that Yeshua was there already. He came up for the last festival, and he stayed there. What would Yeshua be doing in Jerusalem? Well, preaching maybe, right? In the temple? So, but Yochanan or John is just writing, well, it's a time at the Hanukkah, So, anyway. There's 3 times in the Bible that the Israelites was or is commanded to go up to Jerusalem. And one of the Sukkot that is at the moment, and you can see Jewish pictures, and they're going up to the temple, and 3 times a year, they are commanded. And we can do it as well. I've done it twice. I would like to actually do it all 3 times. But anyway, because it's you meet a lot of interesting people. And you meet people that are also interested in some of the same things. It's a great experience to be in Israel, in Jerusalem. There's Abraham's hostel. There are 3 of those. There's in what is it called? The place where Jesus was, right? And you can also see, as far as I can see, it seems like found the place where they try to throw him out of the. If you go to Nazareth, there we go, and then you just follow the thing up, you will get to a very steep thing, and they're trying to fill it with dirt and all that at the moment. Of course, there's a tradition on the mountain, but that doesn't, there seems to be. That's a failure tradition. I think it's coming from Roman Catholics or something like that. But if you just follow, I might be wrong, but that would be that's a huge mosque up there, because apparently the Mohammedans believe that they need to have the mosque higher than the Christian buildings, right? Because they're greater, right? Or something. Anyway, so just be careful about the stones, right? Anyway, you might have some Mohammedans that want to throw some stones, that want to play the stone game and throw some love at you, as they say, we love you. Oh, there comes the stones. It's hard love, as they say. Well, I guess they don't say that. I say that, okay? It must be hard love. Anyway, but anyway, all these festivals, right? You have all these pagan festivals that is being promoted in the world it's just pagan, satanic bullshit. And when you have people defending that, when it's so clearly wrong, and people go and they say, well, this guy says this, and this guy says that. So what is the truth, right? This one is saying, well, it's Christian. This guy is saying it's Satanism or satanic, right? Well, one has to be right and the other has to be wrong, or both of them has to be wrong and something, right? Anyway, it's like when you have 2 versions of Jesus, right? Either both of them has to be wrong, or one of them have to be right, and then the other one is right. Because if you have the real Jesus, right, or the real Yeshua compared to the Jesus of the Mohammedans, you can clearly see that if one is true, the other is false. Or the same thing in regards of gods, right? If Jehovah is plural singular and Allah is absolute singular, well, if one is the true God, it throws out the other, right? It's so if you have one, then you can't have the other, And when people say, well, it's the same God, it's bullshit. Because the characteristics, even if we have the different names, well, even if we didn't have the different names, we would still have different characteristics, right? One has a son, the other has none. Well, the one has children and the other has nothing, right? Anyway, but you can use a lot of time investigating the pagan things, and it's not a bad thing to figure out. But that was, of course, this guy was afraid that people would misuse the information. But the thing is, Satanists will do satanic stuff, right? But if you do not tell those that do not know that they're actually, doing paganism and Satanism, they won't have the ability to react to it and turn around, right? So it's a good, it's a pretty good thing to get to the point to understand, okay, we're keeping pagan traditions. It's all pagan, But then again, there comes a point, at some point, where I can use my whole life on researching all the pagan connections, right? Or I can just go back to the Bible and stand on that, right? It's the same thing with the many versions of Jesus, right? I can stand on the true version of Jesus, or I can learn all about the rest of the, invalid versions or those false versions, right? I can just on the tip of my head. Well, of course, you have the vegetarian Jesus, right? Then you have the mystic Jesus from Egypt, right? Then you have the Guru version from India. Then you have the Druid version from England, and then you have the Ascended Master, one of many, and then the Enlightened version like Buddha and Muhammad and others, and you had the psychedelic mushroom Jesus and Christ consciousness, and it just keeps on going with the naughty thing, right? And of course, the two most important versions we have not to forget: the cookie Jesus of the papist and the only prophet version of the Mohammedans. Was Jesus a prophet? Absolutely. Was he only a prophet? No, he was not only a prophet. He was God Almighty, That's who he is, and he's coming back. Anyway, I remember also reading the Bible, and you began to this he was before, but he is, and he's also in the future, right? And it was just messing, it's messing. We were studying the scriptures, and it's kind of, and you're just growing in, and then you begin to understand it, and you just begin to talk like, and because you understand now how it's, connected. In any case, you make it your own. It's not like you're not reading like, you are formed by the scriptures to, when people like, well, quoting this and that and all that, just absorb and become the truth, right? It just, absorb it and and people say, well, people can, people can take whatever they want from the Bible and they can make up their own little doctrine, right? They can take a little here and a little there and there, and they just fix it up and make their own, nonsense. You have to read things in context and make things your own. Let the Holy Spirit lead. Anyway, and then it begins to pour out of you, right? So, anyway, let's get some more coffee. Would be nice with some food as well. But anyway, so you get to a point where you figure out, the crazy guy's actually telling the truth in regards to these festivals. They're actually pagan. And if he's telling the truth, there's someone lying and deceiving. Oh, those university bullshitters, right? Yeah. Then you find out that there's actually people out there that are lying bullshitters. And they should even, they're even in high positions, right? And they're misleading you guys, right? And they're telling, people like me, he's just a crazy, and why would you listen to him and all that? Or maybe because I'm trying to tell the truth to the best of my ability. Yeah. And not trying to lie and to see, hey, I can make mistakes. That's absolutely, it's happened before. I can make mistakes, absolutely. None of us is perfect, right? We need Christ. Everybody needs Christ. Without Christ, we're thrown into the lake of the fire. But we still need to understand that there's a lot of people that proclaims Christ and yet are the devil's children. And, people will say, well, Paulus says that anyone who proclaims, well, of course, there's also a heart issue there as well. But you can absolutely have people proclaiming that they believe that Jesus is the, Son of God and God in flesh and all that, and are not Christians. They're the devil's children. And Jesus warned us about wolves in sheep clothing. Anyway, so that's it. So you find out that all these pagan traditions, like the pagan New Year in the winter, Christ Mass, the Mass of the Antichrist and his cookie Jesus and all that the Lutherans are still, the so-called real Lutherans are still sticking to, and I probably should read more of Karlstadt. Karlstadt wrote about the new papist and all that and was pointing to Luther. And Karlstadt was thrown out. He was, the head guy in some sense in Wittenberg. And he just continued to do what Luther, he thought Luther wanted, right? And Luther just saw him as radical and began to turn things around, backward. It's really sad. And how Luther talks about Andreas Karlstadt in his last letter is so diabolical. It's so disgusting, And when you know that Andreas Karlstadt just tried to get the truth out, right? Speaking the truth, and he got censored and persecuted and slandered, and he's still to this very day by the Lutherans. Most people don't know about Andreas Karlstadt, which, if not one of the most important, if not, of course we have Luther breaking things right in regard to, but Andreas Karlstadt is absolutely one of the most important pieces that happened at the Reformation. But he's seen as a radical, but he was, he just, when he was turned on fire, he just went for it, and that was wonderful. He just, and many was affected by his writings, and you also have Zwingli as well, right? And of course, they did some bad things for sure, some of these Protestants, and persecuting other Protestants was terrible, absolutely terrible. So the Anabaptist, although there was one group of Anabaptism that kind of made issues, but overall Anabaptism, what is really mainstream is, in some sense, peaceful and following Christ and trying to do the best to be more like Christ and all that. They ended up, being persecuted by other Protestants, and it's just disgusting. But anyway, and my favorite is the Hutterites. I love the Hutterites. That was my favorite group, and maybe I should look further into that as well. But the Hutterites was my favorite Anabaptist group. You have the Amish and the Mennonites as well. The Hutterites, I think, was my heart in some sense. They have my heart in some sense. They have that stuff. They still have some issues also with festivals and traditions and all that. But again, if you're looking for faults, you can find faults. But what bogs me is that we have had the Bible for 500 years to read in Denmark, and we're still keeping satanic festivals. Didn't anyone read the Bible and think, well, these festivals that we're keeping are actually not found in the Bible, And we have these other festivals that actually God gave us, right, to keep. Maybe we would get some wisdom if we actually kept them, and instructions to know what the past, the now, and the future is going to hold for us. Maybe that's a picture to help us to understand what is going on, right? Maybe, yeah, maybe. Maybe they actually have maybe they actually have some weight and some filling compared to those pagan traditions that are empty of nonsense, Maybe these actually helps us to understand things compared to the pagans, which just gives us, fills us with bullshit, The devil always tries to mislead us and for example, advertising, right? They're filled up in the mailbox where we can't get standard mail, The devil tries to do everything he can to ruin us and misguide us and, make wasting our time and so forward. Anyway, I just wanted to say pretty much that when you figure out that these festivals are pagan, the important thing is to get back to the festivals of God. Again, when you know who Jesus Christ is, there's a lot of bullshitters around, right? And they will say, well, Jesus is this, and Jesus is that, and Jesus is whatever, right? But when you know who Jesus is, the first authentic, historical, prophetic, biblical version, Satan can't deceive you, or should not be able to deceive you, right? Because and of course you should take care, because the devil, we should not underestimate the devil, okay? Anyone underestimating the devil is going for a fall. You have all these Christians, right? And they say, oh, you become a Christian. Don't worry about anything anymore. You found Christ. Just lay back in your good chair, right? And don't worry about anything. Yeah, that's not a good, That's just, throwing you to the devil again, right? Oh, the devil can't deceive. Now you found Christ and all that. You don't think the devil has deceptions on every kind of layer, Oh yeah, he has. And the Christians, in regards to when you become a Christian, you're standing there and you're looking out on all those proclaimed Christians, right? And you're just thinking, well, this guy says this guy says these different groups, right? They all say something different, right? So I'm like, so what is the truth, right? Well, go back to the Bible. You have to study for yourself and figure out what is actually true, right? That's the way to do it. And you grow. It's not to say that you're going to know everything from one day to another. You are not. You're going to grow over the years by investigating, looking into things and figuring out. And you're nailing all these bullshit things, right? And of course, just because some group says something wrong doesn't mean that it's intentionally bad, that they're doing it on purpose. But you throw out the bones and eat the meat. We have some problems with the high temperature. Maybe we should try to just have the camera, turned off for a short. Well, here we have Halloween invitation to the occult session 1, Chuck Missler. I'm pretty sure I listened to this for many years ago. I was one of the others posting it on the group. Wonderful, the Christian group on. I turned off the Lutherans. I just, I really would not, usually I would not, in regards to blocking people and all that. I'm wasting too much time on this bullshit. These people that just comes to deceive people and lie and deceive, at some point, I just can't, it's just, it bothers me. It annoys me. I think it's so disgusting, and they come and they promote lies and Latin and deception and, oh, but this is really a Christian festival. What are you talking about? Oh, but these videos that, they're just, these many hours of videos that is on the internet, they're just all liars, right? What? What are you talking about? You have multiple people that just wanted the truth. You also have, history. You have all these collections of different people who used a lot of time collecting and writing books and making videos and all that. And you want to, and the thing is, it's not only those that have found out it's pagan don't want to keep it. You also have people actually keeping it and knowing it's pagan, or even promoting it. It's like, yeah, Christmas is pagan, doesn't matter, we keep it anyway. It's like, okay, at least he's honest on some of the, I'm thinking about a guy on a show, right, primarily. But yeah, so you have these three categories in some sense. You have those that understand, oh, it's pagan and satanic. Why would I be keeping it then? Why would I continue to do it, right? And you find out there's actually a difference, right? I was like, when I found out about these things, and then my family tried to still get me to some of these festivals and traditions. And I remember my earthly father saying that, well, it doesn't matter. We're just there for family gathering and all that. And I was like, oh, if that's so, well, why not just keep the festivals found in the Bible if it doesn't matter for you guys in regards to when we are meeting up and all that? Well, let's just then keep the festivals that we have. Oh no. Then apparently it became an issue. And I was like, well, I thought you said that it doesn't matter. You're trying to get me to a satanic festival, right? A pagan festival, right? And you say it doesn't matter, in regards, it's just a thing for the family and all that. So I'm proposing, let's keep the festivals of God, and then it's a problem all of a sudden, right? Okay. You see the double standard here. You see the family will become an enemy. You can't expect your family, your friends, or anything like that to not work for the devil. That's, Jesus told us, your enemy will be your family or something, It's just something that they will pull you one direction and you want to pull another direction. So, and you might also lose friends and family over these things. And that's just how it is, right? Hey, as long as they don't kill you, right? If you become a Christian as a Mohammedan, or as a Mohammedan, you might be killed off, As a Jew, you are really, some of these quotations from Jews, like, I think I remember at least twice, where the Jewish father have, but at least once I've heard it. I think I've heard it multiple times, that believing in Jesus is worse than what Hitler did to the Jews, right? It's like, what? It's like, yeah, it's, believing in Jesus as a Jew is worse than what Hitler did. It's like that's a huge, you gotta be, yeah. Anyway, I have 100 and something testimonies by Jews, and you can hear how the family reacts to them. You also have Mohammedans that become Christians and are butchered and slaughtered. One of the greatest, I think, Mohammedans that we had that turned around, Nabil, who died of cancer. I think the medical mafia got to him. And then they totally, I think they murdered him, I guess, because that's typical what the medical mafia is doing, right? But anyway, instead of just saying, hey, it's fungus, it's a fungus infection, so let's see if we can do some antifungal. But anyway, they have us down, but anyway, he knew someone that had become a Christian and was, killed. So and of course, if you are a so-called Jehovah's Witness, of course that's a fallacy in itself, because they don't believe that Yeshua is Jehovah. That's one of the other satanic groups that is out there. It's disgusting, but they might do some good in regards of maybe, leading someone to closer to actually figuring out who Jesus really is. But overall, it's a group that comes to sow doubt about who Jesus is. They're trained to deny Jesus' divinity, that there's only Jehovah and Jesus absolutely is not Jehovah and all that. Well, then you break scripture on so many levels. It's just nonsense. But yeah, let's see if we can get the camera again. Hopefully it's cooled down a little. But yeah, you have all these groups, all these fallacy groups that comes to you. The devil will try to do, so many, whatever he can. And we should pull in the other, he tries to make it harder for us. And he absolutely does, make it harder for us. And you have all these liars and deceivers out there. But the more you grow in the Bible, the easier it is to see these people, that they're clearly, think about it. These learned people from the universities, right? And they come out, and Freemasons, right? Satanists standing behind the pulpit, right? And they're teaching falsehood, right? And it's like, you gotta be kidding me. And we're even allowing it because we don't read the Bible for ourselves. Many of us, of course, if we do, we find out that they're bullshitters and liars and all that, right? And we, of course, have to be careful about Roman Pharisee Paulus. But, the lawless. I found another source in regards to the Nazarenes and the Ebionites in regards of seeing him as a strayer from the law. I can't remember the wording, but yeah, lawless man. Someone, going away from the law, and of course all Asia rejected him as well. Now I know that the Ebionites was a group that ended up running with the devil in regards to denying the divinity of Jesus Christ and his virgin birth and all that. But you have to remember that the Ebionites is a second group. It's not the original group. And Mohammedans and the Jews will use the Ebionite. Of course, sometimes the Nazarenes are also called the Ebionites. But anyway. But you have the Nazarenes, the first group, the original Christian group. And then you have the Ebionite coming out of the... And around 70 AD, as far as I can gather, that happens. But it's not a new thing that the devil misleads some. They still professed Jesus, but they just professed him not as God, in regards to the Ebionites. But they still would have taken information from the Nazarenes with them that they would have known as truth. I have one of the documents that it says to come from the Ebionites, and yet you still have the divinity of Jesus in them. So, but people say the scholars and all that, and they say it's most likely from the Ebionites. It's just interesting that you still have the divinity of God in the manuscript, right? And if the Ebionite did not believe, but they might have taken it with them and then just twisted things, right? Like the Jehovah's Witnesses do and all that to Scripture to not make Jesus to be God and all that. Well, another God. Well, not okay. Another God. Okay, so you just broke Scripture there, because God is not giving his salvation to any other, right? So Jesus has to be Jehovah himself, sent by his Father to be our Savior, because only God is our Savior, right? Anyway, that Yeshua is God Almighty is on so many layers. When someone said, well, show me. Well, it took me a year to figure it out myself, okay, by reading the New Testament, right? And people want to say, well, show me, just like 5 minutes showing, right? And well, if you can't show me in 5 minutes, I don't believe it. Okay, well, does it make it untrue just because I can't explain it to you in 5 minutes, You see, this is my first New Testament. This is my first, there was my book that, took me out. I was very zealous in reading this the first year, or maybe a little more than a year. This was the thing that I read. This was the one that I got the understanding that Jesus was God Almighty. It happened, as far as I recall, on a Sabbath, That's a wonderful day to read the Scriptures. Absolutely amazing day to read the Scriptures. But this is my New Testament. This is the thing that, and I actually handed out these in the past, but they stopped selling them. So I'm handing out my flyers, but I'd rather actually hand out, even if Paulus is in it, I usually gave a warning about Paulus. I had the leather version to give out because as you can see, if you use it, it tends to. So I thought that the leather version might actually be better to keep. So anyway, I have one myself here, but these was the ones that I handed out. But yeah, anyway. But apparently there's no money in it for the, well, I thought it was in regards of spreading the truth that was important, right? And the Gideonites doesn't want to give me any of theirs, apparently, because apparently they don't want to sell anything. Well, you don't need to sell, you just need to, well, if you paid like this, I can pay the same thing, then you're not selling me anything, right? Anyway. It's just nonsense, But anyway, that took me out, right? And I found out that Jesus was God, and I also got the understanding that Jesus is not a cookie, okay? It's just a nonsense. And I'm very happy that I actually read the New Testament, and having no problem in regards of understanding that. It's just to the right side of the leg in some sense. It's just not a biggie, But then you come out and you find out that there was a huge, gigantic topic amongst the reformers, and Luther just couldn't let go of this nonsense, and thereby it divided people, and it became a mess. And then you have a lot of people still continuing to hang on to this. But you have to remember that a lot of the Nordic Christians did not believe in the cookie Jesus, even if they were known as Lutherans. And then you have the so-called real Lutherans, right? And proclaiming that blah, 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 blah. You gotta be kidding me. These Christians, known as Lutherans, was just reading the Bible and finding out in the New Testament and finding out what it said. Symbolic, yeah. Anyway, the Zwinglians, the Calvinists, and they might not have gone the total whole way, but they still saw it as a spiritual thing, right? They might still have some problems in regards to seeing it as totally, but they rejected the flesh and all of that in regards to the cookie and all that. So overall, you see the division between the two groups pretty much. And then the Anabaptists was seemingly those that, I guess they were. A lot of the Anabaptists came from Zwingli, and Zwingli ended up doing. Yeah, I guess they all persecuted the Anabaptists. It was terrible, absolutely terrible. So anyway, so let's get back to the topic of. So you find out that these are pagans, right? Traditions. And then the question is, well, what to do then? Well, we have the real festivals of Jehovah. We have the real Passover. We have 7 days on unleavened bread. We have 50 days that we count to Shavuot. And then we have the fall feast festivals in regards of the Day of Trumpet festival with 10 days, and the last day is the Day of Atonement. And then you have 5 days, and then you get into Sukkot. Sukkot. 7 days, and then the 8th day, which is the last great day and all that. And then people say, oh my, it's so much, it's so much, it's so much. You know, all these information. Yeah. You know why it's so much? Because we have been misled into all this junk, you know, all these other traditions. If we just grew up with, you know, the real Passover, 7 days of unleavened bread, and counting to 50 instead of 24, 25 and all that, as at the winter and all that. It's also these arguments that, right, in regards of, well, you know, in regards of Christmas, and it's only one day, and you have the, well, Christmas is just not, it's a you know, it's a long period of depravity, okay? You know, it's all these bullshitters, what they try to, you know, mislead people, like, oh, but this and that wasn't really, and blah, 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 and it's just, you know, just pours out of bullshit, you know, stinking garbage out of these people. And I know I'm not so clean in my word choice, but that's what it is. I was, you know, before I actually read Martin Luther, I was a lot softer in my word choice. But I figured out that if you want soft garbage, you know, you just go to a church, you know. They will hand you so-called loving softness, right? And they will lead you straight back to the Antichrist. Now, also another thing. Just because someone proclaims the papacy, the Antichrist, correctly, does not mean that they're not working for Rome, okay? Because if you read the Jesuit oath, you know that, you know, they put out their agents and make them the light in the world, right? The Christian world as well. And they do things so they can control the information. So you have to be aware there's a lot of these Roman agents out there. And now that they haven't had any resistance for a long time, you know, there's probably a lot more than I would, you know, even imagine. But because it's a Roman Empire that is around, right? Let's just go into my website here and have a little break on the camera, because so that's my website. If you wanna have there's a media full screen thing, and you can, there's some festival videos as well inside that. But we have other I fixed other topics. Let me turn it around like this, and it's I'm actually not sure if it actually want to turn around. Of course, rotation is turned on, but it wanted to do that with the camera, right? Anyway, whatever. And you can go up here, the playlist, you can push up here, and you have multiple. Eusebius, Roman Catholic historian, I found a topic where he also, you know, where he talked about the Nazarenes and the Ebionites. Very interesting. So that was just another source on. You know, I have a great interest in the Nazarenes, especially, and for many years, and I did a lot of research and trying to figure out what was actually going on and what happened to the Nazarenes and so forward and all that, and listening to the tips of the iceberg on these things, or whatever you want to call it, the lights of, you know, the different lights that was talking and had investigated these things and all that, and collected and reading and books and all that. So that was nice to just see another source on that. The conclusion pretty much is that both of the groups rejected Paulus. And we also see Asia rejecting Paulus. He was the first papist. That's my conclusion. And yeah, the Judaizers are the true Christians, you know. And of course the Judaizers are still getting attacked, right? Why? Because they still believe that we should keep to the law of the, you know, the Torah, and the law of Moses. Oh, how bad and how evil that they would be keeping to the law of Moses, right? That's wicked, you know. So let's keep the Roman anti-Christian law or Antichrist law instead, right? From the Roman Empire and Caesar, right? That's the Romanizers. You have two groups in history, the Romanizers and the Judaizers. You decide which group is the right one, right? Because what did Jesus do? Both of them are coming in both groups are coming in the name of Jesus Christ. The good news, right? But there is a difference between the two gospels. And that difference doesn't seem to be looking like much. When you look at the surface area, it doesn't look, But when you actually look deeper into it, you find out that the difference is from as far as west is from the east, And well, I guess in regard to the globe thing, it will end up. But anyway, you get my point, right? Okay. And of course, the Earth is a globe and all that. So there's another Jesuitical bullshit thing that they promote of lies in regards to the flat Earth nonsense. Go look at the northern hemisphere point and the southern hemisphere point, or whatever it's called. The north point and the south point. You can see the stars going. That's 2 points. It can't be flat. It's not flat. Anyway, they will do whatever they can to hang on to this bullshit. Anyway, that's another topic. So you have let's see here if we can find it. Protestants, foxes, Pokemon. We should have something in regards to pagan festival somewhere. Can't even find it. Oh yeah, pagan, satanic, worldly, something. Here we have some of the videos. Actually, Sunburn was censored by 190 ministries. They said they were told to blah 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 blah. There's something fishy about this, They couldn't really say what was wrong. They were just saying, well, some said that blah blah. As far as I recall, the first video doesn't have one single error, but I'll need to get, at some point I was thinking to just go through whole thing again. There might be some things that might be a little loose, but overall the videos are so good, Some are that was really popular and all that. They just removed it, right? And they began to, hunt down. And I talked about them and I said, I found it and all that. And they wanted to know where I had found it. I'm like, I'm not telling you, It's like, I'm not telling you because I would be afraid that they wanted to remove it, right? And that's not going to go, right? So I told them, I'm not going to tell you because I'm afraid that it seems to be an agenda to remove it from the internet. And this is not the first time that Satan has tried to remove information where you start out with a ministry and then they get credit from Christians, and then when it has, when the ball is rolling in some sense, when the boulder is running down the hill or whatever it's called, then you take away that good information away because now you don't need it anymore. It's not the first time and it's probably not the last time. Then you have toolong.com in the Sun interview on pagan practices in Christianity, Richard Reeves. Wonderful research on those things, go into all the historical, has written books and all that on it. But yeah, there are, the SDA videos is in regards of actually needing to look them over and figure out which one to delete or not. But there's so much information and there's so much to do. There's always things to do, and it takes time every single time, right? Totally overburdened, but we can, you can just, in the end of it, you can just sum it up and concentrate it into what is true. You don't really need to know that these festivals are pagan, right? But it's nice to know that they are pagan because then you can do something about it, right? But, you can waste so much time and on it, and that's just after a long time where I was investigating and finding all these and all that, and you have so much evidence, so it's just, anyone saying it's not pagan, it's just full of bullshit. It's so clear, historically, prophetically, biblically, and all that. It just smashes the whole bullshit of this nonsense. The little horn thinks to change times and laws. I wonder who that. Oh, Rome, your boat. Where the Antichrist is, in regards of the Caesar, the Pope, the so-called Pope, the Pope, the great stinking Pope. Anyway, thinking to change times and laws, that prophetic, that's in our time. That's a prophecy that it is valid for us. It's not past. Well, I guess it's past still, and it's now, and it will be future until Christ comes back, and throws the beast into the lake of fire. So, but yeah, you have all these prophecies, and you can see where we are in the timeline and all that. And the more puzzle pieces you get together, the more you solidify things, by being instructed by God, Anyway, in regards to Richard Weaves, that's this guy. And he's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I was ordering a lot of things, but I never got to get the order when I was really zealous in regards to all this. He has also made a lot of free things, so it's not like there's not information out there. But that's good. Oh no, there he was. See if we can find him again. There we go. There he is. He talks about Sol Invictus in regards to Mithra. Of course, Sol Invictus is a ecumenical term for Mithra and Apollo and Helios and all the other names, It's paganism, it's mystery, Babylon the Great. And you have the pagan trinity with Father, Mother, and Son. Of course, that's not the Christian trinity, but that's the trinity you see in Roman Catholicism, where the Father, the priest, is the highest, pretty much. Then you have the Mother in this, and she's second, and then you have the Son, which is the third, in regards to the cookie Jesus. And the priest has the power that is greater than Mary to bring down Christ on the altar. And all that bullshit. He can make Jesus and sacrifice him again and again. It's all bullshit. Anyway, it's just pagan bullshit with a wrapping of Christianity. You can look into all these pagan different societies, different names, same bullshit. There might be some variations and all that here and there, and they borrow from each other and all that. But overall, it's the same bullshit. That's Satanism. Anyway, we have the broad way that leads to destruction and the narrow road that leads to truth, right? We also have in regards to birthdays. I'm still kind of not totally solidified on that. But the thing is that it seems like birthdays was actually just at the year. We changed the number at the beginning of the year. So we didn't have birthdays like the pagans in regards to different times, according to a Roman Satanic calendar based on the sun, right? Because the biblical calendar is not based on the 365 days, it's 360 days, and it's based on the moon. It's in regards to the moon, month, and all that. In regards to we follow the moon. You can look at the moon and you can see where we are in the month. But you can't do that in the Roman calendar because it's just a mess, Anyway, any case, so it seems like that, in regards of birthdays, actually was more of a. Apparently, horses, I've been told, also have this thing at the new year they count the number. So even if you have a horse that is born just before New Year, then it just becomes 1 year after that, right? After the New Year. I haven't further looked into that and all that, but that seems to be the same thing. And I guess it also would make sense if you want to calculate how old the world is. God would have understood that, because if you have this variation that the birthdays are, you can also see Noah changes in regards of his age, at that specific. Now, of course, he could have had but I looked into it, and apparently the Jews also have this tradition or whatever, and just because they have this thing that it seems to actually point that this might actually have been so everybody keeps their birthday as the new year, right? And flicks numbers. But anyway, I'm still looking into things on that. But yeah, I'm not totally solidified, but I don't keep birthdays myself, and I don't see. I guess it's nice to get together and all that. I understand that, right? Family get together, but couldn't. That's other. there's other things that is just more important, right? The festivals of God, right? Let's start there. And we also have some Protestant, if we even wants to have some, where you could get together, you have some Protestant, where you, for example, burn the poop, at the stake, right? In regards of Poop's Day, Guy Fawkes Day, also known as, because the Jesuits tried to blow up the English Parliament. And thereby we had the Poop's Day. And the Americans took Poop's Day with them to America. But then you have Freemasonry, Satanic, Catholicism in regards to Freemasonry and all that. And apparently they stopped doing it at some point because we shouldn't, Washington told the soldiers we shouldn't offend our Catholic, brothers or whatever in regards of army thing in Canada that was French and all that, who helped them fight and all that. Yeah, because let's not bring forth the truth because, someone might be offended, right? And if someone might be offended, that's just bad proclaiming the truth, right? Like if we're going by the standard that we shouldn't offend anyone, right? Because, or don't speak the truth because it might offend someone. Well, I guess truth is then gone, right? Because a lot of Satanists will be offended by the truth, of course. That's just how it is. So we can't use that standard that, it will offend the Roman papist or offend the Satan. Who cares? Let them be offended. If they get offended, who is the, who has the problem? Well, they have the problem. If they are offended by the truth, they clearly have a problem, right? Anyway, actually, this SDA, John Van Denberg, he actually does some good stuff. He tries to twist the words of Ellen G. White, I think, like people twist the words of Paul, but to try to say that she didn't really say what she said, and then promote. But in regards to promoting the festivals, he's absolutely correct. And he goes into things, and I need to see them all, and I haven't really. But yeah, he understands that we should keep the festivals, and I would absolutely agree with him, even if he's an SDA and trying to twist Ellen G. He twists Ellen G. White's words, and I don't think that's fair. That's the same thing with Paul, right? People will twist instead of just seeing what he says. He's very good at what he's done. He's moving back and forward. He's like the first papist, Paul is the tool of Satan to sow the tares. And again, what's the difference between the wheat and the tares? Well, Christ told us, right? Well, both of them are proclaiming themselves Christians, right? But there's a difference. One is leading into lawlessness and the other is leading into law obedience. Now again, it's not to say that we are perfect. But the difference is still leading to lawlessness or leading to law obedience. Because we know that the Antichrist is known as what? Well, the Antichrist is known as the man of sin. What is sin? Sin is transgression of the law. So the more obedient we are to the law of God, the easier it is to spot the Antichrist, right? Because if we are not, and we just accept all the garbage that he promotes, we won't know anything, right? If we do not measure what is, with the Bible, we will just go right back to the Antichrist and into the devil's system that many people are going into these days. It's very sad, but that's how it is. You see, when you do not take Satan seriously, and you just lay back, like, hey, I become a Christian, I'll just lay back, right? If you do that, you will end up in Rome again, because we already know that. Ever heard about the Dark Age? They did it once, they can do it again. Suck everybody into their wicked system and blind us. And the devil is he's a blinder. He's leading us astray. Anyway, so that's it. I don't see a single person coming to the video, so anyway. I'll keep standing for the truth. It might not be popular and people might not want to hear it and all that. But in the end, in the end, it will still be the truth, I'm not called to be a sweetheart, not called to be someone that, oh, but it's radical and all. I was dating this dating thing, trying to find a good wife, right? But anyway, so this woman contacts me and all that, right? And that was something wrong. But anyway, like these different offers and all that. Anyway, in any case, so she begins to, in regards of, I didn't understand one of these doctrines that was just insane to me. But she was, when she was talking about, well, she also thought that I was radical in regards of one of, and I'm like, what do you think is radical? I was like, okay. Yeah, well, in regards of the doctrine of the Pope being the Antichrist. Oh my, that's just no way, Not going to get that by me, that's for sure. You see, I don't care if I'm going to be alone until my dying day, I'm not going to be misled, by seduction, right? Not going to happen, So, but they will, the devil will use whatever he can. It's like, you will get banned from places when you talk about who the Antichrist is and all that. They will come and try to solve that bullshit and all that, but it will still be the truth. Every Protestant knew it. And at least those that was real Protestant and not just Protestant name only. But yeah, it's a thing, right? It's the same thing with Jesus, right? When you figure out who Jesus is, then the devil can't mislead you on who Jesus is anymore. Then he will try to lead you away from who the Antichrist is, because you begin to read the Bible, right? And by reading the Bible, you begin to collect puzzle pieces for the image, right? The book of Daniel, the book of Revelation, the words of Jesus, and the rest of the Bible and all that. And as long as you understand that Paulus is sowing, 11, the great Pharisee, the Roman Pharisee. Oh yeah, anyway. So as long as you be careful about that, there's truth coming from him, but you also have to be careful about the leaven. Can a poop speak truth? Yeah, he can. But they usually do it to promote their own chair, right? The toilet throne in regards to Rome. We have one of these wonderful, really Protestant letters from a great stinking poop in Rome to the bishop in Constantine, right? And talking about, well, if you take this title and all that, you will be, in regards to the Antichrist, the precursor or whatever for the Antichrist and all that. So he wrote, this wonderful Protestant letter that could be written by a Protestant, right? What happens is that some later date that the Pope, the papacy themselves or himself takes that title for himself, right? So it's like, it's like witnessing against yourself, right? You're saying something, well, this is a precursor for, and really protesting and all that he shouldn't do it and blah, 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 right? And then their own, they in the papacy takes upon the title themselves later on, right? And it's just, so this is the little horn, and it can use Christian and biblical verses and all that, and lead people astray. So yeah, it's great as usual in Denmark. I need to also get going on, but yeah, just so you know, when you have solidified that we have pagan festivals, at some point you have to realize that it doesn't really matter how much you know, and you continue to know. You have all the bullshitters out there. You can debate these bullshitters, and it doesn't matter what you provide. You could provide a mountain of evidence and they will still be blind, they just don't see it, they work for the devil, they just don't want to accept the truth, and thereby they can't accept the truth, it seems, there seems to be getting a point where, okay, you've been served the truth, you didn't want it, then, God let them go, or something like that. It seems like it just seems to be a point. One of the Jewish Christians have a wonderful sermon on this, and I think actually he has more than one, where he talks about this, right? When people have been served the truth multiple times, there seems to be a point where you have your chance, and that's it, and he says it doesn't matter what you say to them. You can, and that's true. You get to a point where you figure out that it doesn't matter what you say to these people. That just doesn't hit. It doesn't hit home, or whatever you want to call it. I guess you shouldn't use that. But anyway, it just doesn't get in there, right? It just doesn't. Hello, the truth is knocking, and yet they just don't. They just continue to promote this pagan satanic garbage. And I'm so tired. I'm so sick of it. I'm so worn down. And I just had to, it actually helped. It helped me a lot in regards of just getting the Lutherans away. Now we have on Facebook, on the page. It's just wonderful. There's much more truth now, there's people waking up that these are pagans and fixing good information. That's what I want. That's what I want to use my energy on. People who wants to know the truth. We want to continue on that. If I begin to just, go into all this, you can waste so much energy and so much time, and they just seems to actually purposely do it to actually, to make you focus on other things. Like, when all this cookie thing in regards to the Reformation, they used years, and it's still, years and years of discussing something that should be so clear, and yet they wasted so much energy and so much time on it. It's just, and that's, we only have one little, line between two numbers, and the devil want to, have us misuse it. And I just don't have time for the bullshit, and it just so I blocked some of them in the group, and it's just so wonderful, It took all the bullshit away. That's just wonderful. So now I can see all these. I don't know if I have it on my. It took all the bullshit away, and just had some. Yeah, here we go with the group. It just vanished a lot of, there's still some, and I will probably block them and all that. It's not because I'm angry, at them personally or whatever. It's just, I don't want to, it's just, I don't want to listen to this bullshit, when we have, when we know that this is pagan, satanic, and they come with their titles and their, other outward bullshit and all that, right? And they mislead people. It's just disgusting. It just, and you try to, and then you see they just continue with the nonsense, right? Here we have Halloween, Invitation to the Occult by Chuck Missler. I did see a lot of Chuck Missler as well. Yeah, you can probably find some issues with him as well, right? But overall, there's a lot of good stuff still that you can learn in regards to the book of Daniel, the book of Revelation, and so forward. And I don't think I have him on the website, but I did also listen to him for, in the beginning of, trying to get into what is this all about in the beginning, in regards of. And that was one of those that I also, he has like every single book where he goes into it and all that. That's, I've listened to a lot over the many years, the SDA, the, and this guy, and, there's a whole list on my webpage on so many different people. And again, you have to be aware that, that there might be some bones. You can listen to someone that you can agree totally on a one topic and just think like like this is awesome, right? And then he fails totally in another subject, right? But that doesn't make the good information, bad, right? So the good information is still good. You just have to discern what is the good thing compared to, again, like Kent Hovind. He's just the best of the best in regards of evolution and creationism. Yes, I don't think there's anyone that he's really up there, at least. I think he's the number one. There are some that are up there as well, right? But I think Kent Hovind is like the number one on that. But there's then some other things that I absolutely, I disagree with. But in regards of creationism and evolution, it's just the best on that topic. It is really wonderful to see what he's doing, in regards to that. So anyway, so we have these different brothers and sisters that have, that are strong in some areas and less strong in other areas, and that's just how it is. But of course, we should. So there's another guy that I probably will. It's confusion, right? It begins to this in regards to not calling yourself Christian and all that. Oh, give me a break. You gotta be sowing this nonsense. And he was talking about, the word Christian is not found in the New Testament and all that. And I showed, it is, right? And he still goes on with this. I think it's another, but anyway, that's my, I might be wrong, but there's so many that tries to mislead people, and that's, so here we have in regards of the tribulation, that's Rene. Normal is not coming, the tribulation is, the great tribulation, and it's the sixth seal, and we could be a lot closer than all the puzzle pieces in some sense. At some point in regards to all the corona thing and all that, you could see, all the pieces was there actually. And I was looking before all this nonsense and all that, where we had like a silent period and all that, and where I was thinking like, it's like, in regards to all 9/11 and all that, all these things seem to have gone somewhat silent, right? And then all of a sudden, all this corona just sprang forward, right? In regards to the medical mafia and all that. And I had figured out, in regards of Shavuot and all that, and I believe, as far as I can see, I think we are on the timeline of Shavuot, and I think we might be closer to Shavuot than we, but, in regards of not wanting to pinpoint a date and all that, because usually that doesn't seem to go so good, right? So I didn't really want to talk about it, but I have made a few messages on Facebook on it, but I really didn't want to, because, if I'm wrong, that would not be, and we have so many other date setters and all that. But I think on the timeline that we are actually on, closing to Shavuot. We're counting to 50, right? What are we counting to? Well, of course, Christians are not counting, right? But we should count, because we might learn something. Why are we counting to Shavuot? We have the, Christ is the first fruit, right? And we have the first fruit day after the Sunday, right? And then we count to 50, right? And then we have all the harvest being taken in and all that. Well, what happened at Shavuot then, right? I was thinking maybe the Shavuot actually is the time where we have the Great Tribulation. But I could be wrong. But it's you think about it. What do we have next? The festivals? Well, the Day of Trumpet. Well, we know the Day of Trumpets is in regards of judgment on the world. We see the 7 trumpets in the book of Revelation and all that. And then the Day of Atonement and all that. And then the 1,000-year reign and all that, which in regards of Jesus Christ coming to reign on earth for 1,000 years and all that. And then the last great day and all that. So we have the image, right? So as far as I can see, we have the Passover lamb and 7 days of unleavened bread, and then we count to Shavuot. And as far as I can see, it seems like that must be the great tribulation that is coming at that point. But I'm not sure. I need to further investigate it. I might be totally wrong. But I was thinking in regards, why 50, right? And I looked into in regard, well, we have 40, 40, 40, right? We have 40 all over Scripture, 40 years in the desert, 40 years in regards to Moses, and then 40 years further, and then 40 years, and he gets to 120 altogether. Then we have 40 years where he's up on the mountain, and 40 years again, and Jesus is 40 years in, and then we have 40 years in regards of 30 AD to 70 AD, right? We have 40, so many places, right? And I'm like, maybe in regards of those 50 days times 40, right? And then but anyway, don't take my, don't, I'm not, I don't want to, on anything of that nature. But yeah, but in regards to the corona nonsense and all that, I could see that all the pieces are pretty much there. And things can go be very quickly sometimes in history. We know that. Like, for example, Second World War and all of the things, just all of a sudden, all things are moving, right? Very quickly. And that could be, when I sorted out this in regards of finding, I'm thinking, if that is true, things need to move very quickly, right? And I just couldn't see that, it's like, okay, if this is, things have to move very quickly, right? And what is it, like 2022 at this moment, so we're like 8 years still, right? And I just couldn't see how that would, and anyway, I just, put it on the back burner. But really in regards to the times of the medical mafia, and you could see the whole world and you can see the waves of demons and all that going out and all that, that was a point where I thought, or where I could see, well, all the puzzle pieces are there in regards of, they're going in that direction. They pretty much have the tools to do it, right? All the things to fulfill future prophecy of the Bible is pretty much there, It just needs to be, pushed. Then we could, pretty quickly end up in a society where we can't get anything without the number or the name of the beast, right? So, and Great Tribulation. So now, of course, the Great Tribulation comes before the 7 trumpets. Now, in regards of when the temple will be built, that's a good question. The temple, of course, can be built pretty quickly. The Jews are, are ready to build it. If they allow it, they will build it very quickly. Of course, we also know that the end time prophecy says that the sacrifices will be taken away, and this is for the end time. Well, if the sacrifices are being taken away at some point, well, they have to begin at some point, right? Again, we also know from the book of Revelation that Yohanan is told to measure the temple, but this is in the 6th trumpet. So, at least at the 6th trumpet, that seems to be a temple, right? And so if there's a temple in future, according to John, well, there must be a temple, right? But that's in the judgment trumpet, so we know at least there's a temple at that point. We also know that there has to be a temple for something that shouldn't stand in the temple, or shouldn't stand in the holy place and all that, standing where it should not and all that. There has to be a temple then, there has to be a temple for that to happen. We of course know that the devil want to be like God, right? So the Antichrist want to sit in the temple of God. That makes pretty much sense. He wants to be seen as God. So everything makes sense in that sense. And I guess people, you're a futurist. No, I'm not a futurist. I'm just reading the Bible. There's past, present, and future prophecies. And people that they will say, well, in regards of historicists and all that, and they will, I've heard that, you're proclaiming futurist doctrine. What are you talking about? I'm just reading the Bible. So there's, someone that proclaims historicism, or I just call myself a bibliocist instead of a historicist, then I get. But anyway, when people say, well, that's futurist. No, wait. Are you telling me there's no future prophecies for the end? Is that what you're telling me? Because I know the Jews rejected Jesus because Jesus didn't fulfill all the prophecies found in the so-called Old Testament, right? They were expecting the Messiah to throw out the Romans and set up his kingdom and make Israel great, and here we go with this Messiah hanging on a Roman cross, right? That's not what we kind of expected, right? And he, all these prophecies he didn't fulfill, right? So, but of course there's future prophecies, So if there's future prophecies and all that, of course there will be future things to happen, right? And again, so it makes pretty much sense that, the devil wanna be like God. And of course we know it's a Roman Empire with a little horn and all that. It's Roman. The fourth beast is Roman, and the Roman beast continues until Jesus Christ returns. So we just need to find the Roman Caesar, and we find the Antichrist. And then, they will say, well, there's many Antichrists. Yeah, there's a lot of Antichrist around, but there's one specific, and then it will go, well, the Protestants say, well, the beast and the Antichrist and the little horn and all that, and because they're right, And when people begin to sow confusion on this and say, well, I guess they're actually doing some sense of, those people that is looking for the truth and hearing that, the Protestants believe that, they might actually be pointed in the right direction. If they read the Bible and study the Bible and actually figure out what the Bible is saying and all that, they should further and further, get the the north and south thing, what is it called, a compass. They should pretty much get the compass in the direction of where things are going. So who knows, maybe it actually might help them to hear about, even if they are made, even if these people are making these former Christians laughing stocks and all that, right? You hear, historians or scholars and all, they stand there, well, they believe that the papacy was the Antichrist, ha 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 ha, because we know so much better than these days because we don't read the Bible, right? So I'm sure those that actually read the Bible in the past, I'm sure they just didn't know who the Antichrist was, right? Okay, yeah. Doesn't make any sense, does it? No. Anyway, it is what it is, right? So it doesn't seem like anyone is coming on, it seems, sadly. I love talking about the truth. I speak a lot. But sadly, it's not many interested. And who knows when I'm going to take the ticket, Well, I'm still alive, I'm still continuing. As long as blood is going through my veins and breath, through my mouth, I will continue to try my very best. Looking at Danish history, it's very sad to see how few we actually have that actually stood for truth, and other places in the Nordic nations. We have been served this huge table of good food and wine and the wonderful things, and yet this is where we are. We should be so much ashamed. How the whole Danish people should be ashamed. We should all be ashamed, and repent and look to God. It's like the Northern Kingdom. We have all these other things, but we don't have God, and He's the most important thing. We have been blessed on so many levels, and yet we just left God. It's just disgusting. We should be so ashamed. I thought the Danish people was a people for truth, right? But I was clearly deceived on that. The Danish people don't like truth, They don't like truth. They want the lies and the deceptions. So, anyway, but yeah, at some point you will, there's mountains of evidence in regards of showing, that these festivals are pagan, satanic, history, prophecy, the Bible, God telling us, don't do as the pagans. Oh, wait, God told us not to do as the pagans. Well, let's just Christianize it, right? Did God tell the Jews to go in and look at the festivals that they have and then just Judaize them, right? Make them, and then, or push some Israelite painting on, just bullshit. No, He didn't. He said, don't do as the pagans. Don't look into how they are doing things and all that. Just do what I say, right? And if you do what I say, you will know the truth, right? You'll be led in truth and all that, right? And just don't do as the pagans, right? Don't do as the pagans. Like, how many times did God tell us, don't do as the pagans? And what are we doing? Oh, let's do as the pagans, right? Just give me a break. Just give me a break. And then these bullshitters on Christian pages will say, yeah, well, we Christianized it. It's really Christian and all that. Don't listen to these Judaizers, right? Well, there's always been a problem in regards to Romanizers and Judaizers. And again, it doesn't matter if they proclaim the papacy, the Antichrist, because you have had people, again, Roman agents can hide themselves in sheep clothing. We've been warned by our master. Now, I've been told that I'm a false prophet and all that, although I haven't proclaimed myself a prophet in any way. I'm just pointing out the issues that is out there to my best ability. But they don't give any, it's like, oh, you're a false prophet. Okay. So what have I said that it was wrong? Because if I said something that is wrong, let me fix it, right? Of course, if I know what you're saying is false, right, I won't, because many people will say, oh, this and that, right? You have to stand on the Bible and have the Bible as a measurement rod. You use this to measure the truth. Because this one will say this, and this one will say this, and this one will say that, and that one, whatever. You use this to measure things with. Because if you don't, you'll be led astray. And the thing is, when we solidify something, like when you have a specific group and they solidify their doctrine, that's not the idea was to move forward. We don't have all the truth, we in regards of like, the idea was to continue to pull rope from the devil. Okay, the Protestants took it so far. Well, let's take it further. Let's not stop. And if we stop and just drop for example, the Protestant, you had the Protestant declarations of some of the Protestants, right? And they had that the Antichrist or the papacy, right? Well, they were not pulling rope, but they were not giving rope either. But then all of a sudden they just dropped the rope and changed the confession about what they're removing information about the papacy being the Antichrist. This is something that is happening worldwide, and this is something that the Jesuits has been working at, and removing information and sowing disinformation and all that. And they have been so successful that people don't believe if you tell the truth. And it's like, if people want to, hey, I have my issues for sure. I have a lot of health issues as well. It's terrible. Well, that was one of the reasons why I was looking for truth in the first place, because, what is the meaning of life, right? If I'm going to go with this pain for the rest of an issues for the rest of my life, why not just take my life, right? And I was trying to figure out, because if evolution is true and blah, 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 and all, why keep on going with pain, right? But there's a purpose to life, and that is to serve God. So until he takes, until the end, until we sleep the great sleep, I guess I have to be careful in regards to this, because again, that's another doctrine. Heaven and hell, problem. You see, we sleep when we die. The dead and the living will be raised up. You see, the dead and the living, well, those, you have walking death in the Catholic whorehouses. Oh yeah, they might seem alive and all that, but they are dead without Christ. Oh, but they're professing Christ. Well, they're worshiping the devil, Again, just because they talk Christian-like and all that doesn't mean that they are Christians. What did Christ warn us about? Hey, hello, wolves in sheep clothing. You can sit and talk to a Roman Catholic and then sound very Christian, right? And yet they turn around and worship the devil. You think they're Christians? You can just feel, if you go into a Roman Catholic whorehouse, you can just feel the suppression. You can feel the darkness. It's very, I remember in Jerusalem, I just wanted to get out. But I wanted to see with my own eyes if this was true, what I was hearing, And it sadly was. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And you dig down and you find out this is the devil's masterpiece of a system. Anyway, don't trust what I'm saying, but go investigate it for yourself, okay? That's the best thing you can do for yourself. And you should figure out who is lying and who is, again, I'm just, mad, I just, have many issues and all that. I have many, but I'm just trying to tell you the truth, and to the best of my ability, And they're liars, they're deceivers. It's all around us, And hopefully God will raise up other people that are much, much, much better and can stand for truth, and pick the light up. But look at Danish history. It's awful in regards of people standing up. It's just all darkness these last 300 years or something like. It's just so sad. It's like we have the Bible to read, and it just doesn't seem like anyone is reading it, What is wrong with people? Like, we've been served, we can read, right? We have this, what do we call it, a blessing that we can read, and we have books in our own tongue. We have we can hear it in audio, even if we are blind, right? Physical blind, and we can't, we can listen to it, right? And if we can't listen to it, and if we're blind, we can maybe learn to, read these, fingerprints. I don't know how they would teach you, but there must be a way to, well, I guess you could actually and then you could fix the thing, right? You could have the person feel, okay, that's one, right? One thing, and then you have two, right? And you can fix and then I guess you could actually teach a person a little by little going in that direction. I don't know, but there must be a way to have the way to give the information to a person, right? That was like a guy that became handicapped on so many levels, and I think he was reading the Bible by his feet. That was just amazing, right? I think he was totally, I can't remember the whole, but he pushed, the person pushed himself or herself, I can't remember, but anyway, to be able to, I think, reading the Bible with the feet, by sign, that's amazing, that's really, going forward. But yeah, again, think about it. We have the word in our own tongue. Now the devil tries to take us wherever we are, in regards of, for example, Roman Pharisee Paulus, very, very slick deception that has misled a lot. And there's a lot of truth in his letters. But that, of course, is not the danger of it. It's the slick leaven that is found in them that leads people astray, right? Like they will say, well, they might find out that these festivals are pagan, right? Or that Sunday is the first day of the week and not the last day of the week. And what will they hear? Well, Paulus says, right? Isn't that true? Paulus says. I've heard this, Paulus says so many times. It's like, yeah, what does Jesus say? Because I'm called to follow Jesus, So Paulus may say something and all that, but I'm going with Jesus, okay? And when Jesus' words are conflicting with Paulus, I'm just asking, who are you going to follow? What are you going to put your weight on? Paulus or Jesus? I remember meeting one of these guys in Jerusalem, and he became so stirred up, multiple times. And he was, the only thing that he could do was quote Paulus all the time. And I was quoting Jesus, right? So he was quoting Paulus and I was quoting Jesus, right? And you could just see the conflict, right? So he quoted Paulus, I quoted Jesus, but the thing is, if I quote Jesus and that's in conflict with Paulus, what should you do? Should you just, we just throw out Jesus and we'll go with Paulus? Or should you throw out Paulus and go with Jesus? I think it should be a pretty easy choice, right? We go with Jesus, right? Anyway, I think that should be, we call Christians, right? Why we call Christians? Because of Christ, right? We could also be, in regards of the what do you call it? The Mashiach, the Messianics, right? Anyway, mostly the world in regards of using Christian and Christ and all that, and And then you hear this nonsense from people that want to sow confusion on, in regards to we're not called. You should always do the religious test. Always. If someone is going for a position, a state position, you should always do the, what do you believe in? Oh, that's a private matter. What? Out in the trash. That's typical a Freemason thing. That is a personal, the religious view is a personal blah blah blah. We all worship one God, but it's a personal thing in regards to what kind of blah 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 blah. Ecumenical bullshit. If someone can't even say, and they might be a Roman papist, right? But you could see the fruit and all that. But at least, if they at least proclaim themselves Christians, at least that at least you've gotten that far, right? In regards of some, in the right direction. Now, they might still be Roman agents and all that, but at least they will be honest to proclaim themselves what they say. So yeah, the religious test. We don't want any Roman papists. We want Christians, if anything, to be in government positions, right? Although, the beast system and all that, right? It seems to fail all the time when Christians try to, but like Cromwell tried to get righteousness and he chopped off the head of the king, and because the king was Charles I was conspiring against the English people with the Roman Catholics, and by Cromwell got Charles I's head chopped off for conspiracy and all that. And he tried to run things and all that, and he also tried to make one parliament after another, and he found it just got corrupted every single time. He wanted a godly parliament to rule the people in some sense, or to be there for the people, by the people, to the people, for the people, right? And it just failed every single time that he tried to do it. So he ended up, he took the position and ran it for himself. In the end, but then, so he made some waves, and it ended up going back to King whatever and all that. And the English apparently wanted Christmas back and all that, and yeah. So the Puritans banned Christmas, as far as I know, both in the U.S. and also in some of the colonies and all that. But again, all this history is just you need to dig after it, because it's not history that we are told about. It's hidden away, because if you find out, you will understand what is going on in our days. And the Jesuits and the Roman Catholics don't want that, or the Romanizers. Right? They want to rewrite history, hid the truth away from us, and promote all that bullshit. I don't think there's any I've posted. Maybe no one is seeing my Facebook, because at least there's not a single one that has come by the live stream. So anyway, you have your chance for asking questions for whatever I have researched for these many years. It's been a long road of research and finding out things and all that. So apparently, I was in one of these New Age groups and I was kicked out. Why was I kicked out from the New Age group for new Christians, coming from the New Age? And I'm coming from the New Age myself, right? I was into all these disgusting, filthy things, right? So I thought, yeah, that's a group for me, right? In regards of maybe I can feel at home, right? And I was kicked out by the administrator. And why? The reason? Because I fed the people bread. I did not give them milk. Is that the reason why you kicked me, huh? I would, if I was telling lies and deceptions, I could have understood it, right? But because you're giving, and of course that's coming from Paulus, right? Milk and and the bread thing and all that. You don't give them solid bread and all that. Hey, I'm telling you, if you get out of Satan's candy store, you want the truth, right? You don't want to be served more of these soft lies and all that. You want the truth. You want someone to tell you the truth. At least for myself, I wanted to know who is telling the truth and where it's like I'm standing there, right, coming out of the occult, right? And this group says this group says this, and this group says this, and who's telling the truth? I have no idea, right? And then you grow and figure things out, right? And begin to discern better and better and sort out things and all that. But I was kicked out because I served solidified food, Again, I could understand if it was, if I was lying and deceiving and they, but that was not the conclusion. The conclusion was just, I'm serving, I'm not serving milk, I'm not giving milk, it's like, don't we have enough of sweet bullshit, that is sweet to the taste and yet poisonous, I think so. But apparently, so that was very sad, can't have too much truth, apparently, right? I thought we had the spirit of truth, right? And I thought we were, you're either moving in one direction, the other direction, right? And we should move in the direction of more truth. Anyway, if the Danish people are really not wanting more truth, they'll it will be very dark. It will be very dark, and I was thinking, like, in regards to Denmark, if God took us out of these nations or took us over or whatever, like, like the Northern Kingdom and all that, it's our own fault. It's our own fault because we didn't want to listen, to the truth. And we left God and we didn't think he was valuable at all. And with all the truth that we have been given, and we should have continued on that road. But when the people don't care, well, then we get into darkness again. And that's like people like, well, I just want to live my life. Well, if that's what you're going to go, right? I just want to live my life and all that. Well, what do you think happens? When we stop pulling rope from the devil, he begins to take rope. There will always have to be people standing up and beginning to pull rope. Okay? If we do not pull rope, he takes it. So if you just say, up with your arms, I just want to live my life. Well, who's going to pull rope from the devil then? Because there's a lot of Satan's, there's a lot of children of the devil that loves to pull rope in the other direction. So if there's no one standing on the other side pulling, we lose it. And we have lost a lot. So anyway, have some more coffee, I guess, and I guess, yeah. So, but yeah, pagan traditions, and shouldn't, I guess my nose is blocked because I've been speaking so long, But the thing is, pagan traditions, even debating it just seems outrageous. And when you have these university high degree bullshitters and all that, and they're trying to snake oil and push lies and Latin and all that, it's disgusting. It's so disgusting. It's vile. It's I don't have the words for it. I think it's so depraved, And we have all these bullshitters all around that is pushing pagan bullshit in the meeting houses. These buildings that should be promoting truth, right? And they will defend the lies and attack the truth. I just can't. It's just not acceptable. Christians are called to be the children of truth. If you come with festivals that is found in the Bible, go into a meeting house, so-called church, whatever you want to call it and all that. You go to a Lutheran, right? You take your Bible with you and you say, we have these festivals. Oh, you're Judaizing now, right? Yeah, well, Jesus was a Jew, right? It's just the way that they will defend all this garbage. It's just disgusting. I guess these learned places do what they do best and make people, learning against learning. Further, you have information and lexicons on these pagan festivals. You have pagans verifying that these are pagan festivals. You have history verifying it's pagan festivals. You have the Bible verifying it's pagan festivals. On all levels, because it's the truth, you have things verifying that it's paganism. And then you have these people saying, oh no, these are Christians. Come on, people, wake up. And the worst thing is that people will actually, some people will have heard, well, Christmas is pagan, right? And they will seek out one of these well-known people, right? That has authority and blah, 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 right? And they want to know, I've heard that this is, pagan. Is that true? And this authority will say, no, it's not true. It's not true. This Christian and all that. And that will be enough for that person to say, there you go, I can go and keep Christmas. It's like, that's all it takes for some people, They hear the truth, and they go to an authority, right? It's like, yeah, I heard it's pagan and all that. And it's like, what do you say? Well, no, it's not true. It's, hey, yeah, let's go keep it. It's like, and it's like, that's the only thing. They just need a little word in regards to saying, someone telling them, no, it's not true, and then they will run back to it. And it's, that's sadly how it is with some people. And it's very sad, they found out, well, I've heard it, yeah, and they heard the truth, right? And they are concerned that it might be pagan. And yet, so they go to one of these authorities and they take this authority's word. It's not true, right? And Satan does his deed. Satan just took the truth away from that person. And back into traditions of vanity. When I looked into the Nazarenes and other Christian groups and all that, one thing that, seemed to be the thing, when Christians profess Christ and get close to the law of Jehovah, when you see that going, persecution comes. The Nazarenes kept, and upheld the Torah. They didn't upheld all the Romanizing bullshit. They upheld the Jewish law in regards of the divine law. And they professed Jesus Christ as the Messiah, as the Son of God and God in flesh, that was born by a virgin and all that. But then, they get persecution, of course, by the devil. And you see when the Jews and the Gentiles, or the Jewish Christians and the Gentile Christians in Spain, that's later on, when they get, the Jewish Christians are teaching the Gentile Christians about the festivals, and the Gentile Christians are teaching the Jewish Christians about Jesus being God Almighty, Jehovah, and all that. And when they got they got persecution. That's too close for the devil. The devil don't want us to have too much truth because it hurts him. Truth hurts the liar, right? Well, why would truth hurt the master of lies, right? Well, maybe because the truth, just totally ruins all the lies and the deceptions, right? And he don't want that. It's just, in any case, and you have the Anabaptists as well, although I don't think they actually got the festivals, but they got too close as well, and they got persecuted, both by Roman Catholics and proclaimed Protestants, sadly. So every time you get too close to the truth and all that, you get persecution automatically by the world, and that's just how it is. So I just that was yesterday. In regards of a former Roman Catholic, he was exposing the Roman Catholic system, and while he was at it, right, he ended up attacking the Judaizers again, and he was talking about, well, the only difference that the Judaizers, he was going to Paulus, Roman Pharisee Paulus, right, and Roman Pharisee Paulus curses these people, right. Did Jesus tell us to curse anyone? No, he didn't. Okay. Oh, so why is the Roman Catholic using this practice of going back to Paulus again? Okay. And in regards of taking oath, people can go back to Paulus as well. In regards of keeping pagan traditions, they can go back to Paulus as well. Keeping Sunday instead of Saturday, they can go back to Paulus as well. And eating meat sacrificed to false gods and not caring about that, they can go back to Paulus. And so forward it goes, okay? Anyway, and many other things, I should make a list of it. I did actually, I've written about it, but yeah, anyway, I guess that doesn't go away in regards of these different things, but I should have, should really make a list in regards of people baptizing the dead. Oh, going back to Paulus again. We have a problem, maybe, and all Asia rejected him, right? But anyway, so he was attacking Roman Catholicism, as he should, right? Exposing them and all that. And then he goes to Paulus, right? To use them against the Roman Catholics. And he talks about a divine curse, right? Paulus puts a divine curse on the Judaizers. And I'm like, a divine curse? Because people take Paulus' words as, God's word. It's just disgusting. And they will make, if they say Jesus said, right, they will quote Paulus sometimes. And it's like, that's Paulus saying that. That's not Jesus, okay? So anyway, but yeah, he was talking about a divine curse against the Judaizers. Now, what was the difference, according to him, about the Judaizers and these Romanizers, or in regards to Paulus? Well, the difference is that the Judaizers are leading to law obedience, whereas the Romanizers are leading to lawlessness. And that's the difference between the two gospels that actually is in the first century. The two different gospels goes out in the world in the name of Christ. And they both go out in the name that that Jesus died for the sins of the world. They both proclaim that Jesus died for the sins of the world. Yet there's a difference. One leads to lawlessness and one leads to law obedience. Which gospel do you think is the correct one? And by the way, those Judaizers, right? Those are actually the apostles of Jesus Christ. Those terrible Judaizers. Well, some of the closest people to Jesus Christ. Interesting. So, who are the Judaizers really? Is it bad to God and keep and promote and guard the commandments of Jehovah and the testimony of Jesus Christ? Is that a bad thing? Or is that actually what we were, called to do? Or are we called to lawlessness? Well, Jesus said, "Go and sin no more," right? We're all sinners. We all fall short and all that. But it's not to say that we can just say that the law is abolished, because the law is not abolished. Well, Paulus says, blah, blah. Yeah, well, no, it wasn't the law that was put on the cross. It was the sins, the transgressions of the law that Jesus took upon himself. The law is still in effect. We also know that the law is in effect because the little horn thinks to change times and laws. So if the little horn, or the little Roman horn, thinks to change times and laws and persecutes the saints, and the saints are those that guard the commandments of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ, well then it's still there, right? It's still in effect. We also know in the future in regards of the kingdom to come and all that. So anyway, you see, the devil has laid out so much disgusting defilement. He's fought it all over, and it can be somewhat hard to get through it all. But if more people get out of it and continue to promote truth, Satan will have a very hard time to keep us in this slimy, stinking puke of Roman bullshit, If we just continue, when we get out of this and we just stand on truth and promote it, more people will be able to get out as well. So the more who stands up, the more who stands for truth and all that, the more people can come out, and the more we are, the better. The more people stand speaking the truth, the harder the devil will have to keep us locked into all the lies and the deceptions. Anyway, not a single person looked at the video apparently in regards to the live stream. I don't know why, but I guess people does, or maybe people are not noticed. I don't know. I guess it is what it is. May Jehovah be with you, and Yeshua, most precious pearl, and the spirit of truth be in us all. Amen. Have a good one, all of you, and take care, because the devil is trying to take us down. And don't take your own. Don't take your own life, even if it's because we have a job to do, and if you know the truth, we have to whatever little waves we might do in our life, at least it's better than nothing, right? And if we just take our own life and we know the truth, we won't make any waves. It's just So let's make some waves before we leave, right? Let the Satanists kill us, right? Let's not do that job, and kill. Don't kill yourself, even if it's terrible, and it is. It can be pretty terrible in regards of things, for sure. And when you hear people killing themselves because of all these things going on in the world, it's very sad. We need to tell the world the truth, and even if we just make small waves, at least it's better than nothing. We need to tell the world the truth, and that's pretty much it. Anyway, take care, all of you, and yeah, I already, I guess, told you. I have the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. And the twist that people forget, the children of Jehovah. Yeah. Anyway, take care, and don't run to the Roman Catholic whorehouses to become one of them. If anything, go preach to these people, because they need Christ. They need the truth as well, even if it's just And the Satan is a master deceiver, and Roman Catholicism is his utmost diabolical system of craftiness. That's disgusting.